Hey guys, Mustang here bringing a Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today we're going to be taking a look at the now EZA physical Goten and Trunks. Check them out here on one of their 200% leads, the LR physical trio, and see how good they are going to look. So these guys, obviously full level 10 links for me, Rainbow, have been for a while. I changed their build a little bit with some spare copies that I pulled from the banner to give them mostly dodge and then additional. And I'll go over that as we talk about their kit. But yeah, we're going to try them out here. They're going to be an interesting unit to use on some of these teams because, like, two of the best units in the game at the moment, which are these guys and this guy, are on the Kamehameha category, and they want to be run with Kamehameha allies, right? So if we look at their super attacks, they greatly raise attack and defense for one turn and do immense damage on their normal super. Their unit super, which you have to have a Kid Trunks or Kid Goten in the same turn or a Krillin on the team, has the same effect, greatly raises attack and defense for one turn and immense damage, but it also raises all allies' attack and defense by 30% for 2 turns. Now, you may have noticed straight away, we don't have another Goten and Trunks or a Krillin on the team. The problem is there's not really a super good, like, meta-relevant version of any of those characters. We got that new free-to-play Int Trunks, but I'm not super sold on him. And I don't think he's a Kamehameha unit anyway, is he? I'm not sure. I'd have to double check. I don't think he does a Kamehameha. Obviously the ones from the Broly trio, the Bio Broly movie do. But none of them are that great, and there's no real, like, good Krillin at the moment either. So I think the best thing for these guys is just going to be to run them on the team where they will perform the best, like with the allies that they need, because the only thing we're missing from the unit super is the support, which is nice to have, but I don't think is necessarily like the be all and end all of running this unit, right? Because when we look at their passive, key 3, attack and defense 100%, they get an additional 150% for both when performing a super. They have 2 separate 70% chances to get 100% extra attack and defense. Then they have a high chance of launching an additional attack, high chance to crit, medium chance to dodge, and then they get an additional attack and defense 20% up to 100 and chance to dodge 10% up to 50 with each attack evaded or received. And then an additional chance of critting 30% and damage reduction 30% when all allies attacking in the same turn are Kamehameha characters. So the way I've built this team is every unit is a Kamehameha character except for Bulma, and the plan was obviously to keep her on rotation on the other turn. But of course, in typical fashion, we've had them both start on the same rotation, so they're not going to have that full passive. So you can see they have 182k. The problem with these units that have these RNG passive activation things is I have no way to know whether they're activated or not, whether 1 or 2 activated, and we'll just have to see what their start of turn defense is on the next turn to see what the difference is, essentially. But the good thing is about them building up from their passive is they do build up their dodge chance and their attack and defense by dodging or being hit. So in the first turn like this, where we're going to get to super attack first, they get their defense raise on super. Remember, they get 150% when performing a super already anyway. So that 180k that we have is going to go up to what, like 450-ish? And then there's the super attack effect itself, which is greatly raising defense. Which is why additional is a good secondary ability for them, obviously, as well. Because if you get a additional super, then of course they greatly raise their defense again. So let's see, what are we going to take here in terms of... Now we get the additional, so the additional goes up to 13.7. I mean, that's pretty good. Double defense raise as well, so they're well over 500k defense. They obviously don't have the damage reduction. And then they're getting 20% each time they get hit or dodge. So there's 3 and there's 4, which is the most importantly the super. So 4 out of their 5 attacks dodged or taken on the first turn. So they should have some very interesting start of turn 2 stats, because we were at what, about 180k at the start of this first turn for them. And of course, remember, now every rotation going forward, we are actually going to have a full Kamehameha rotation as well, because we won't have Bulma on the rotation anymore. So yeah, annoyingly, this event can seal. I brought Senzu Beans because, funnily enough, they did actually seal Goten and Trunks in the first turn, so I used it before I started recording. So I've got 1 left, but I'm going to keep it for, obviously, if Goten or Trunks get sealed again, because we want to see what they can do in the showcase, right? We don't want them to just constantly be getting sealed. But yeah, very interested to see after 4 procs of their passive out of 5, what their start of turn defense is looking like. I guess, of course, that makes it more difficult to know whether those 70% chances procced or not, because, of course, our start of turn defense next turn is going to be way higher than it was on turn 1 anyway, because we just got an extra 80% from the passive. So I guess if we did get one of the or two of the procs on the first turn and then get neither on the second turn, the number would actually be around about the same, I guess. But we'll see what they're looking like here on the next turn. Super Saiyan 3 Goku, obviously after attacking, basically can't take damage. God Goku did get his 6 orbs, so actually he probably kills Butenks here, right? Because we get a guaranteed additional super. Yeah, I think he should do. Yeah, it's at 9.8. God Goku's another one of these units that had kind of started to drop off a little bit and was becoming like a dodge or die character, but the trio giving him that massive defensive buff definitely helped him out a little bit. Obviously against supers, he can still very much be a dodge or die character, but so we got our buff. What are we looking like here on this next turn? Yeah, we're starting off at 537k, and then remember we get 150% on super. Now, as far as I know, and I could be wrong, you'd think I would have learned this by now, but I keep getting told different things by different people, so I'm never 100% sure. But the on super buff, I believe, is of like what they actually have here in the menu. Like when you see this defensive stat, they're getting 150% of that. So they're getting another like 750k defense when they super, which means we're going to be at around 1.3 to 1.4 million, depending on how many super attacks they do. We have a full Kamehameha rotation, so we have 30% damage reduction. And then, yeah, we still can get one more dodge in order to proc like another part of their passive. So we'll go ahead and do that. They do have the active skill. The active skill is when there is an ally whose name includes Trunks Kid or Goten Kid in the same turn, starting from the 3rd turn. So obviously in this team setup, we can't get their active skill, which I guess is one downside to this particular build. Their active skill gives them guaranteed dodge for the turn. So obviously that is a very powerful ability, especially if like you haven't got much build up with them in their first appearance. You can use it on their second appearance and get the dodges guaranteed to then finish building up their passive, which I mean their passive builds up even if they take the hits. So I guess it's one of those things you kind of have to weigh up when using them, is that turn of having guaranteed dodge obviously could be very, very powerful, but it means you have to have another unit whose name includes Goten or Trunks on the same on the team. And as we discussed right at the beginning, there's not really a lot of like super relevant units at the moment like to run. Obviously, if you were running these guys team, because of course now with their EZA they've got the full 170 lead, if you're running double physical Goten and Trunks, then obviously you have your ally on the team from the other leader. So I might have to do a video using a build like that, because obviously they have Kamehameha as one of their leader skills. So the trio, Gohan, some of these other ridiculous characters would be on their team. And that could certainly be very interesting, because not only would the trio be given the support, but by getting their unit super, well, I suppose to be fair, for the unit super, the Goten or Trunks have to be on the same rotation as them, whereas with the Krillin, they just have to be on the team. So that's why it's a bit of a shame. Like, we really need, for these guys to be really, really good with their EZA, we need the Tech Krillin to get an EZA. But anyway, we'll get the Bulma support buff here, and then we'll grab these for you. We need to make sure we're not floating Bulma off, right? We don't want Bulma to end up on the same rotation as the Goten and Trunks, because we want to have the full Kamehameha rotation active at all times for them, so they get the 30% extra crit chance and 30% extra damage reduction. So yeah, I mean, without a Goten or Trunks on the team, you're missing out on the unit super, which gives support for 2 turns, which is really useful. And then you're missing out on the active skill. Now, the active skill, depending on how you want to use them, how you want to slot them into the team, these guys could be a really good floating slot 3 unit, because they do relatively good damage. On their first appearance, they're getting their build up regardless like of whether they're getting hit or if they dodge. So you're not kind of like, you're missing out on chances to build up their passive as quickly by floating them. I guess it depends how many attacks there are in slot 3, right? Like if their first rotation there's no attacks in slot 3, but there's a couple in slot 2, I would say you probably want to keep them on rotation to get that little bit of build up. But I suppose it also depends on the team build that you're running, because Kamehameha has some ridiculously good characters. You're not necessarily going to want to have like these guys on main rotation, right? So 544k is them at the max here. So let's go, and we can't get enough int orbs to match the support if we stand by with these guys. So we'll go ahead and do this, and then grab those for you. That did not drop down the physical orbs the way I would have liked, but let's go ahead and do that. Because yeah, the trio shouldn't kill here, I don't think. But then Goten and Trunks, maybe they will. I suppose it depends on crits, because we've obviously got type disadvantage on this stage, so on this phase. But yeah, I mean, Goten and Trunks, remember, starting out the turn at 500 odd K defense means they're at around 1.3 million after they super, and on a full Kamehameha rotation, that means they have 30% damage reduction. So that means they'll be able to tank some hits. Like if we're on full health, they'll be able to survive some big super attacks. But of course, with them being fully built up, they also have an 80% chance to dodge. So they're going to potentially, these only few attacks in the game that are actually going to be able to kill them post super when they're fully built up, they're potentially going to dodge them anyway. All right, and then yeah, they're up to 24 million on their attack stat. And we get the crit, and then we get the additional. So 25.8. So it's a very, very good turn for them, right? And that's with no extra support unit on the turn. We got the Bulma support from the previous turn, the trio support. I mean, obviously the trio kind of make any team look pretty ridiculous depending on what exactly is going on. You're locked in slot 1, but that's fine. We can just go ahead and stand by with you. Get the Dragon Balls out. We'll be able to get the active skill with Bulma on the next turn as well. So we're looking pretty good here. Get those. And then we're not going to be able to miss the Dragon Balls. Let's get the type orbs with you guys just to get the heal. Gohan obviously going to be able to tank fine here in slot 1. So but yeah, I mean, Goten and Trunks seem very, very good. The issue is going to be finding a good unit to run with them on the team. Like, I did a video where we used the old school, like the LR Tech Go Bros on the physical trio team. And like, they give them enough of a defensive boost that they can at least be somewhat okay against like normals. They're obviously not going to be tanking big supers. And then you would have a unit on the team whose name includes like Kid Goten. But I don't know, like, it's probably still not a great option for the more difficult content. Like, they definitely can fairly easily, I would say, get caught by these tougher bosses. So I don't know if I would be comfortable running the GoPros against some of the more difficult events. Like I say, that Int Kid Trunks, let me get up his details here and double check that he's not on Kamehameha. Because that's the other thing, is to get the unit super, he needs to be on the same turn. But if he's on the same turn with them and he isn't a Kamehameha character, then they don't get the damage reduction, which is probably much more important for them than it is for giving support to the rest of the team. Yeah, he isn't, which doesn't surprise me, right, that he doesn't do a Kamehameha. So yeah, that means they would lose out on the damage reduction just to get the unit super, which I feel like having the unit super is probably way better. I don't really want you locked in slot 1, so let's just use that. Move you over there. Grab all those for you. All those for you. And then we just have to get that one just so we can get the last orb. Goku gets extra attacks in slot 3 anyway, so he's going to get guaranteed additional supers regardless. And then he should be fine. But yeah, the trio obviously going to be good in slot 1 as well. I mean, yeah, so from the numbers that we're seeing from these guys, they seem pretty good. Their post-super defense is very good. Plus, like I say, if you maintain having a full Kamehameha rotation, post-super defense is high with damage reduction and decent crit chance. So, I mean, they're doing good damage, which is nice, and having a really good dodge chance to back it up. 32 million on this turn. Jeez. So yeah, I mean, pretty good. 32 million with the crit. Finished him off. We can get the Bulma support here. Alright, so I'll get those for you. I'm a bit worried about God Goku not getting 6 orbs after we do this, but hopefully he should be alright. So do that. Grab those. There you go. Grab 8 orbs for you. That puts us up to 107. Yeah, there's going to be a big old family Kamehameha coming up after the next rotation. But yeah, I mean, Goten and Trunks looking good. I'm trying to think of who else is like... There are really no relevant Krillins, are there? Unless that Tech one gets an EZA. We had that recent AGL, like Dragon Ball Super one, but... I mean, I guess... The thing is, as well, the way it's worded is it doesn't say a unit whose name includes Krillin. It just says Krillin. So you can't even use, like, the new Krillin in 18 from the superhero movie, for example. I'm not sure if these guys even share any teams with them, but... The way it's worded, I'm fairly sure you can't just use a character whose name includes Krillin. It just has to straight up be a Krillin, which is not really great for these guys. I mean, when they first came out, it was fine, because obviously the whole point was you just use the Krillin that they released with, right? And that was the whole point. But him not getting an EZA alongside them as well, I think is definitely very counterintuitive to making these guys like super good and runnable. Because realistically, like, I mean, I say runnable, like, we're running them on this team without a Goten or Trunks on the team or a Krillin, and I still think they're perfectly fine. They're obviously just not as good as they would be if we had that set up to use, right? So, let's see. So we ended up with double trio on this turn. All those, we've got 107 charges here. So we'll do this. Ah, we're going to kill him, aren't we? That's annoying. Yeah, I didn't realise the health was so low. I should have put him in slot 1, really, just to see. I mean, on this rotation with all this support as well. Double physical trio. The Bulma support from the previous turn. I mean, these guys would not be taking a lot of damage. Oh, perfect. They got stunned. Let's go. I forgot that Boo Piccolo does that in this phase. So that means these guys get the Dokkan attack instead. And they are at 32.5 million attack stat here. So that's pretty good. Double Kamehameha, get the crit. Yep, 44 million crit Dokkan attack. So pretty good. I think these guys could work well as a unit that you can just fit in on the team. Like Gohan having the Kamehameha. Wow, there's no 5 orbs in slot 1 for the Bulma support. That's really unfortunate. Yeah, Gohan having the family Kamehameha, Kamehameha leader skill. He definitely needed some other units to help buff like his team. But yeah, I think these guys could definitely be very good. I don't know if, just like this showcase, I don't know if I would be too worried about trying to have a Goten or Trunks or Krillin on the team. Because, I mean, these guys performed perfectly fine. The active skill with the 100% dodge turn is definitely something that is, like, appealing. And I can understand, like, wanting to have access to that, especially in some of these really tough fights. Like Beast Gohan, for example. I mean, I know Global's a bit behind on some of the tougher fights, but like Beast Gohan, he locks these guys in slot 1, and then you just use their active skill, and then they're guaranteed to dodge. I mean, they could get a dodge anyway, because their dodge chance is good once they're fully built up. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down below. An old family Kamehameha KO screen. But yeah, I don't think you necessarily need to have the Goten or Trunks or Krillin with them. The unit super buff is obviously very helpful. But to be honest, I think you can absolutely get away without doing that. So we will do a couple different videos taking them into different events. But I will do a video using the double leads for them just to see how their team fares. I think the problem is going to be the same kind of thing, though, is that the way they were designed was to use that Krillin support unit, because both their unit super and the active skill, the Goten or Trunks have to be in the same turn. Now, we did get those EZAs from the Golden Week celebration for the Tech and Int Goten and Trunks, who are kind of good. They're not slot 1 units, which is a problem for them. They get a lot of their extra damage reduction and stuff once they've attacked. But once the new, like the EZA physical Goten and Trunks are built up, they have enough dodge chance that you could potentially rely on them to go in slot 1. So maybe we'll try out a team build with these guys on there. But you guys let me know what you think of physical Goten and Trunks and their EZA down below in the comment section. But that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.